Hi, and welcome back. Valentine is coming, and it's one of those holidays that us in the industry sort of dread a little bit. But let's try to make it a little more fun and come up with a couple of different things we can do this a little bit different. A dozen roses is a dozen roses. How many different ways can we make it? Well, we can do different fillers and branches and accessories to put into these roses, and that is really the way to make it different. We hate to cut them down too much, the roses, because they're so expensive for Valentine. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ideas, or just a couple of different ways of doing roses. And a lot of places, uh, a lot of stores deliver them in boxes, which is definitely ideal, I would say. But where I work, they used to get them in hand tied, and that's how they want it. So that's how I usually make Valentine's bouquets. But I want to show you how I have these amazing colors here. This is a blueberry, and I forgot what it's called. I'll let you know later. And cedar eucalyptus. So the cedar eucalyptus is absolutely stunning. Rarely does it come this nice, but sometimes it does. I have curly willow and then a little bit of salal in case I need sort of to just separate the flowers a little bit. So that's what I'm going to try to do to make these 20 roses really special and unusual. Um, I know a few of you will say, wow, that seeded eucalyptus is really expensive. And it is. I totally agree. But I always think if somebody is willing to spend or buy 20 roses at Valentine, I think we can upsell them a little bit and try to uh, see if you can convince them of putting some really nice fillers in, because it does make a big difference. And of course, if you have photos, that's the best way for your customers to see what you're doing, right? The purple rose is just such a beautiful rose, and different. And I would also try to encourage my customers to not do red, like do a different color. Probably done red so many years, and do something different. It makes it a little much more interesting than just red roses. These curly willows are truly nice and branchy. But we can already see that just this color combination already is just so different compared to just a dozen roses. We all know that it's not always easy to convince our customers of that, but it's worth a try. Here, a little bit of this eucalyptus on the outside, so that when you put it in the vase, it really flows nicely. The branches. This is just about the time when my hand starts cramping because there's a lot of stems in here. we go. If my bluebird rose would have been a little longer, I could have done them in 2 different heights, but they're not that long, so I don't want to. I'm making them all more or less the same height. And one really good way to see if your roses are lined up nicely and they are the same height is to put them down on the table like this and really put them like this, and then you can see they should be the same height. This way it should be flat. It's harder to see when I put them like this. It should be flat this way. You pull them out so that they're all the same height. And then you know, I'll show you in a second. This is roughly correct. Because we tend to make a little bit of a back on them sometimes. Yeah, so when I hold it out like this, it will have sort of that nice curve like this. I'm going to tie it up. When you hold these bouquets upside down, it's definitely way easy on the hand because it is a lot of flowers. I use a bind wire. That's how I like to tie all my bouquets. There's nothing that's right or wrong with that. You just do whatever feels right for you. And let me see if I have a nice vase for these here. I think this one here is perfect. Always nice to have that vase that has that curve. Let's see if we can get them in here. Perfect. Perfect vase for this here. Hey, look how pretty they are. Just a beautiful bouquet. I should actually cut this here a little bit shorter, but to sit absolutely, it should be so it's like sitting right on the lip, but that's, I can do. But I want you to see, like, I so like to have something that really breaks the, when you see it when I step away here, something that comes out over the side. It always makes every arrangement look so much nicer when there's something that falls out to the side. Instead of that, it just goes straight up like this compared to if it's just sit up like this. It makes it very natural that it comes out to the side like that. So that would definitely be one fun way of doing 20 roses. And let's try for a couple more. This bouquet here, I am going to do a dozen roses. And I think I have 7 of the purpley plummy snaps and some pink limonium, which is a beautiful filler for the roses. And then I have a salal, and I have a little bit of pistachio if I need a little bit just to separate the flowers. I like to have a little bit of green just so that I can separate the roses. So I might not need much, but because I have this here. But if you don't have a filler, you do need something where you feel you can separate the flowers with a green, whatever green that would be. So let's do this here. That's a little bit different. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I'll pull these. I don't want these here up here. It makes it too busy. They literally sit down here. just as a separator. Just like that. And then I'll make the snaps a little bit taller than the roses. It's a really nice combination with the roses and the color of the snapdragons. It's nice sometimes to mix a flower in with the roses. Also, it's a different price point than having all roses. As we all know, it can get really expensive at Valentine. And I intentionally used a different rose, not a red rose, because I just thought, why not? We get a little tired of all these red roses after a while. So I try to keep the snapdragons a little bit more towards the middle, since they're higher. Higher than the roses. And we'll put a little bit of salal on the outside. That'll finish it off nicely. Tuck it all the way down to the bottom so it doesn't stick out too much. Making sure that all the snaps are the same height, roughly. And look at that. Beautiful combination. So much nicer than having 18 roses. I find this is actually nicer than having, I just used 6, I think 2, 4, 6 of the snapdragons. Yeah, nicer to have a different flower in compared to having 18 roses. And again, that's something we have to sell our customers. We should sell it the way we would like to get it. Yeah, let me tie it up. And as I said before, I do everything in a spiral. I think if you don't know how to do the spiral, please do yourself a favor and learn it, because it's something you will always use, always, always, always use. There's not a day that go by that I don't do a hand-tied bouquet, I would say, if I'm in the store. Beautiful bouquet to present to somebody. It would make somebody really happy, I believe. Try that. So another way that we can do a dozen roses, especially since I have this beautiful seeded eucalyptus, is to do it tight. I did talk about that we don't like to cut our roses for Valentine, But if you have a shorter variety, this is definitely a good way of doing it. And it will always be one of my favorite ways to have a dozen roses, to have them low. So you can put them where you sit, you can put them at a coffee table, uh, even on the kitchen island, somewhere where you see them all the time. Compared to a dozen long stem roses, you put more to the side because you can't look through them. So the cedar eucalyptus here, I'll do in my hand. I'll start with that because they kind of go to all in all kinds of different directions, and then I'll poke my roses into it. Like that. That looks nice and round. And now I will poke these here in. Try to get the really straight ones for the middle. And then the ones that look a little bit more to the side, which is a very natural thing for roses to do when they come in a bunch, they can go more on the outside. My roses are starting to open up a little bit here because I've been working with them for a day out here now. So a lot of times your roses will be tight when you do this here, so it might not look as full as when I do it right now. Certain varieties, as we all know, they open much faster than others, so some will look bigger and some are very tight at the beginning. Could be a good idea sometimes at Valentine to educate your customers a little bit on the prices and how it actually works at Valentine, because I think a lot of our customers, they just think that flower shops, they just make so much money that it's not even funny at Valentine, and they're not aware of how it actually works with that, how much more we actually pay. And it's not that they should know, it's just that uh, it's interesting for them to know too, how the prices go up worldwide, right? So when I grew up in Denmark and where I got my was trained, we didn't have Valentine's Day. It's become a little bit bigger now, but so our prices at Valentine, even though we didn't celebrate Valentine, February 14th, the prices will go up because it's worldwide that the prices go up. It was kind of interesting. Very hard for us to explain to our customers that, well, it's Valentine somewhere else in the world, so now you have to pay more for the roses. That was kind of interesting. We see how that's sort of a really nice combo and how nice it is with that is low. I like to do roses in different heights in the bouquet, like obviously in a wedding bouquet and stuff like that. But for this year, since we only have 12 roses, I think I want to keep them the same height. And I will put a little bit of salal in case, let's say your seed eucalyptus is not quite as full as this. You might need a little bit of green right at the bottom, just like really tucked in. It holds some of that seeded euc nicely up too, even though I like it, I want it to flow, but not too much. Have this little heart. At Valentine, we're allowed to be a little bit cute, so let's put this here in. It's a fun little, it almost works like another little rose, right? Okay, we'll tie this up. And we'll just cut this here a little bit. My pruner went somewhere. And then because I don't want to cut them down too much, I use a vase that's sort of oversized, but I want it to lean to one side, which I actually think that would look really nice for this here. Like this. Which I actually really like to use a vase this way. So even if the stem, but my roses, like I said, got a little shorter because I've been working with them. But even if they were all the way to the bottom or this length here, it just sort of makes it interesting that it's this way here in the vase compared to I just cut it and put it in a smaller vase and it just sat straight up and down. You could also have it like this. But then if it just sits like this, it looks like the vase is too big. When it sits to the side, it looks like it's meant to be this way. Let me just make sure it looks right your way here. Do it like this. I think it looks nice like this. It's interesting, it adds interest that it sits to one side. And the little heart, I think is really cute in there. Do it short. You could also do this here and literally put it in, cut it here and put it in a really low vase. It would look really cute in there. Just different ways. You just got to try to think of different ways and make a couple up in the store and take pictures so you can post it or people can see it in the store. One of the best way of selling is that people can see it. It's very hard for people to visualize. We don't expect things from our customers. We should be able to provide ideas, and they come in because we are the experts, so we have to live up to that. So make things so people can see it and let them get excited. And it's so much easier to sell when you have something people can see and they say, that's what I want. So have fun. Enjoy this Valentine.